everyone, it is your favorite CEO, Miss Flo, back with another episode of Neon Mike, where the conversation just glows. I am back here at the Plus Ultra Entertainment Studio here at National Harbor, and I have a very special guest with me. Now, it's kismet that I have this guest with me because I did not plan to have this like after the election. But it feels right. The universe was like, you need this right now. And I feel like we're just going to take our time to recenter. I have healed with a thought.
Gratitude.
And it's so cool how we met because we actually met at the Ward 7 Women's Symposium as you were hosting a workshop on meditation and healing. Now, if you don't know what the symposium was, it's a gathering of women business owners and entrepreneurs coming together to network and get these free classes on how to start a business or help the business grow. How was that experience for you?
It was a good experience. I got to learn a lot about business from a perspective of being able to encapsulate your story, and I felt like that was very fundamental.
Oh, that's dope. And I really gained a lot from your workshop because I don't think we really take the time to really slow down, breathe, relax. And I think that in a time right now after the election, I think we all need to take the time to relax and breathe and really reset. So real quickly, do you mind showing us some things that we could do to just help recenter ourselves?
The most important thing with recentering yourself is breath work, right? We really don't breathe enough, right? We have very shallow breaths, and that's why times like this, people may experience anxiety or things being expelled from the body where you would consider to be rage or anger. And those things are coming from really suppressed energies that you have, right? And that's the first thing that we want to get to. Like, external values do affect us internally, especially when it comes to politics and medias and laws and things of that nature. But heal with the thought is about you healing yourself, right? And if we're able to close out all of those things, then we align with ourselves. We come into our bodies and we're able to conduct ourselves properly. So I guess the first thing we could do is a 4-count breath. What you would do is you would breathe in, you would hold it for 4, and then you will release it on a 4 count. And the reason why this is important is because it's teaching the body the ebb and flow of life. In order for you to be able to breathe efficiently, you have to breathe it all the way in and hold it, and then expound the belly so that the belly is actually taking in the contraction of the muscles. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. So on the count of 4, we're going to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. And now we're going to hold it for 4. And then we're going to breathe out for 4. You're going to breathe in again. Hold it for 4. And then breathe out on 4. Breathe in. Hold it for 4. Now we're going to breathe out on 4. We're going to go ahead and round it off and do 4. So we're going to breathe in again for 4. Hold it. And then breathe out for 4. Okay, so that will relax the body. And then when emotions are stored in the body, there's something called emotional freedom technology. And this is tapping mechanisms that actually hits acupuncture points, but also points where emotional energy is stored. So the first place that we can go to is the clavicle. So this area, you could just start with just loosening it up. And then we're going to tap on it in the center right here. 4, we're going to stick with the count of 4. 4 is about stability too. Numbers are very important when you're into the meditative process because, right now people feel unstable. They feel like they're not safe, right? And when we really boil down to it, the only person that can help us feel safe is who?
Me.
Exactly, right? So right here in the clavicle area, a lot of grief and sadness is held here, right? So we're going to loosen this area up by tapping. And if you do have mucus, you'll feel it. When you tap, you'll feel it loosening up.
Okay. So this will also help if you have seasonal allergies.
Yep, it definitely with inflammation. This actually drains the lymphatic system as well. Okay. All right, so now we're going to open it up and start with our hand right here. And you could just, we'll do 4 taps for every point that we touch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then we're going to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll come here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to come right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll come back to the clavicle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And you could do it as fast as you want. You could do it as slow as you want. It just depends on how you feel. Okay? So this is called emotional freedom technology, which is a tapping therapy. And when you tap, you can also say things to yourself, right? So we're going to start with right now, most people are in their head, right? Their thoughts, you don't have to do that.
Oh, sorry.
Their thoughts are like stuck in their head. So in order to loosen your thoughts up, then you can actually tap here at the top of the head. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to move a little fast, but you could just watch me. So with emotional freedom technology, if you're trying to remove thoughts, then you would say, I remove things that do not serve my highest good.
I remove things that don't serve my highest good.
I open up my emotional pathways so that I can release things that do not serve my highest good. You can move to your... This is the opener, right? We're opening it up because where do you receive energy at, right? You receive energy in your hands, your head, and your feet, right? There are more holes, but we'll get with that, right? So I am releasing and opening up the pathway to my emotional awareness. I remove things that do not serve my highest good. I let things go that I'm seeing in media that do not serve my highest good. I remove things in my awareness that do not serve my highest good. I remove my thoughts to speak things that may not serve my highest good. I remove the anger that may be in my chest at this time that does not serve my highest good. So that's an example of emotional freedom technology. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I actually feel pretty relaxed right now. And I think this is a good technique to show my students because they do carry a lot of stress. They do carry just dealing with everything, not just with like politics and what's going on with the election, but also with everyday schoolwork, home life. And a lot of times I think as teachers, we don't always know how to properly manage that outside with like, do you want to go see a counselor? And then sometimes a counselor may not be available because they're dealing with X, Y, and Z. So I could definitely see myself, showing this to my students. Okay, like you tap it away. Tap it away. We're going to tap away all those negative emotions. They might be apprehensive about it at first. So like, how did
You'll be surprised. So I work with the youth a lot. And I'll say apprehensive depending on how you deliver information to them, right? Because, the youth they like to see people in action. So if they see you before you even tell them what to do, if they see you tapping on a regular basis, then when you start doing it, they'll be intrigued, like, well, what are you really doing? Or what does that do? And that's kind of how I lay out the pathway to teach. I open up a doorway where I'm initiating the activity, right? So that they can come in too. And it's like, I've probably taught about maybe 75 kids emotional freedom technology in the last 2 years. And I would say I can say about 25 of them stuck to it and like really give me details on how it make them feel. When you do it, you can actually write your own affirmations out, right? And there are more pressure and acupuncture points on the body. The hips are where energy is stored the most at. So is the neck area, and so is the back of the head or the frontal lobe, because this is kind of like where the logical mind operates. Basically, where reason and doubt is created. And most times, the emotional suppression is either you doubting yourself, or not feeling whole, not feeling safe, or having something that you have experienced that puts you in a form of fight or flight mode, and you have to bypass that programming, right? And with children, that's kind of like their leadway, because they kind of like bypass programs naturally, right? So when they see you in action doing something, it's like, oh, okay, if I can really use that, then show me how to use it. And it's very fundamental.
Oh, okay. So I think like you spoke about trauma and how like it may help for those that maybe experiencing that. Um, first of all, how did you come across this technique, and then how has it benefited you in your life?
Okay, so in 2017, I developed something called sciatica. I actually was about 500 pounds. Matter of fact, I was 495 pounds to be exact. So sciatica is a restraint on your nervous system. It's basically weighing your nerves down. Um, and honestly, most people would think that that is only because of the weight, but the reason why the weight becomes stagnant is because emotions are actually stagnant there, and the weight starts to collect toward basically the fat cells, the receptors. When our body goes into fight or flight mode, it stores things. That's how people who end up being in a state of depression end up putting on a lot of weight, because the body is actually storing everything to hold it for safety. So as I had the sciatica, I basically couldn't walk, and I had like 3 jobs like a Jamaican living here in Washington D.C.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so it was like if I didn't go to work, I wasn't gonna be able to pay my bills. So the first thing that had came to me was just walking. But what I noticed is that when I was walking, nothing was happening, if that makes sense. And I had came across a technique that was talked about how you have to give your body permission. Because if the body is in fight or flight mode, or it feels like it's not safe, then it doesn't want to get rid of anything, because it wants to hold on to it for nutrition value or to comfort itself. So I started to talk to myself. And when I was talking to myself, I realized that talking to myself in a meditative state and giving my body permission was a tipping point. But it's like, okay, how do I compare movement with this? So my first thing was walking. So I would walk and talk to myself. But then I got to a point where I started to dance and talk to myself. And then it was a trauma informed technique that I learned in about 2019, where you basically utilize yoga, right? You worked on the aspect of yoga and stretching the body, but you would say things to yourself while you're stretching a body, and you would touch the point of what you were talking about. So I'll give an example. When I first heard of it, it was basically about the hips, and they would have you like push your hands down on your hips, and the moment that you feel heaviness, you would say, I release the emotional frequency that I'm currently feeling, right? And that technique kind of like made me be interested. Okay, well, what does that mean? So then I started looking it up. Why would you touch certain parts of your body while you're giving it a command? And what I learned was that it was something called emotional freedom technology. And what it is it's ancient Chinese medicine. And ancient Chinese medicine is called acupuncture points. And those points or neurons or receptors actually hold on to collected data, right? But sometimes that data could be stored up fat cells. Sometimes that data could be confusion. Sometimes that data could be not feeling safe. So we got to realize that our body is like a computer, right? And just like with a computer, you got to control alt delete some things, but it doesn't delete unless you give it permission to, right? So tapping is like giving the body permission to release that energy. So that's how I came across the technique, basically dealing with my own hardship, right? Dealing with my own constructed situations with my body. I felt sickly, and I want to go search and find things that I could do to get the weight up off me, but also realize that it was bigger than just the weight. It was actually the fact that as a child, I experienced a lot of trauma, and my body was holding on to all of that for safety. So in order to get my body to respond to my command, I had to really like talk to it. And that's what emotional freedom technology is, the art of talking to yourself to remove things that don't serve you.
And I'm glad that you said it, mentioned like our bodies are machines. And we don't always think about it or even take the time to really always think about our health or our mental health because we live in such a go society. It's just like we always have to we have to go to work because we got to pay our bills and we got to take care of this. We got to take care of the kids. We got to take care of like our parents and woo woo woo. We never take the time to like listen to our bodies, take our time to reset, and then we just end up crashing and we're just like, okay, what happened?
Crash outs, that's what they call us now.
Yes,
like,
I know.
Oh, she crashed out. And in all actuality, what happens to a computer if you don't delete the cache, right? Just like what happens if you go on ChatGPT and you're using it to prompt things for you, eventually the memory gets full, right? And no, I don't think that our body memory gets full. However, it does have to delete something in order to store something new, right? And a lot of this has to do with politics, education, and law. Like, some of the data that you're holding on to is laws that you've learned or what your mom told you should do when you were a kid or when you were in school, what teachers told you to do. Even though you may not believe it, your body is storing that information.
Right.
And it's waiting for you to have faith, right? And what action or emotion actually holds suit, because then it'll store it or it'll deplete it, right? There's a beautiful video right now going on Instagram where it's showing you how white blood cells actually operate for the first time. I know a lot of people remember like in Osmosis Jones, the movie, but white blood cells literally go around and collect debris. But if it's been docile because it's been holding on to everything because it's not safe, it's not going to collect that debris. It's going to look at that debris as if it needs to be there. So when we think about ourselves as a computer, we have to remember that it's important to cleanse, right? Not only, and I didn't learn this, like both of my parents weren't around. My mom dealt with heroin addiction. And my dad also had an addiction to coke. They both were born in the epidemic of drugs, right? Fortunate for me, I guess you can say, came here knowing within myself. However, I still experienced a lot in that time frame where it caused a lot of trauma. So my body has been in fight or flight mode, I would say, for 30 years of my life. I would say for the last 5 years, maybe 6 years of my life, I've started to come out of that, right? And not only is the programming heavy, but the mind, when they say the mind is an idle place and you have to learn how to conduct your thoughts, if you're constantly in a state of negativity or you're in an experience or environment that creates that, then that's all the body knows. So, like, when you think about a computer that's bad, it's going to stay bad until you cleanse it out, right? And that's kind of like the same thing.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to overcome that hurdle because you have been doing some really great things. Like on social media, you're always putting positivity out there. You're always taking the time to even show us like how to properly take care of ourselves. And that's primarily your business. So how can people find you? How can people like just book you to just like coach them? Because I feel like right now, I'm pretty sure your phone is going to start blowing up and right now. So it's just like, how can people get in touch and how they can bring you into the fold so that, we be able to heal ourselves?
So I'll be honest, I'm not taking bookings right now. However, I am an intercessive helper. So Touch by Finesse on all platforms. You can always reach out to me then. I do have services called Living in Attunement. The purpose of Living in Attunement, and that's how you met me at the symposium, I did an actual Living in Attunement performance, if that's what you want to call it, or a tutorial. So Living in Attunement is about learning how to attune yourself to your own frequency. It's about learning how to operate your computer, how to be the manual of your own, I guess you could say, consciousness. A lot of people feel like we got to control things, but we really have to learn how to conduct ourselves. And I'm not saying that in the point like, oh, you got to conduct yourself a certain way. because I just now said the other day, rage is actually authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every part of our body has emotions, but with living in attunement, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I have a TikTok. I have Facebook. I will probably be taking appointments come the wintertime because I know around the solstice, people tend to utilize me a lot more often. I kind of go in hermit mode to prepare myself for that because helping people release their emotions can be heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that that is what I'm here to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I kind of went through the aspect of having all that emotional weight so I can get to the point of releasing. So right now I do have a yoga challenge going on. I'll be doing the yoga challenge every month. It's called a 30-day yoga challenge, living in attunement. So you can also join the yoga challenge if you just want to keep up to date week to week with different ways to release things from out of your body. Right now we're working on yoga poses, reps. We do meditations and things of that nature. So that would be the way to get in contact with me.
Okay, dope. And so, like, I'm glad you mentioned like how much it takes on you to help other people, because as you're helping others, it's like it's an exchange of energy. And I feel like you're a very empathetic person where you can kind of like you can feel other people's pain, and that it does take a lot. And so, like, how do you able to manage that, to take the time to still help people, also to make sure that you are good as well?
I'll be honest. I feel like I spent most of my life helping other people, even though I was the one who needed help. I learned, like I said, around 2017, like, okay, that's when I launched my business, Touch by Finesse, Heal with the Thought, 2017. And at that point in time, it was about like aromatherapy, making my life a ritual, right? Like when I get up in the morning, how am I talking to myself? How am I treating myself? And staying in a state of practicality with that, because it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle with life. So what I try to do is live every day where I'm fueling myself. However, what I noticed with the collective or being an empath, because around 2017, 2019, I don't want to call it a superpower, but I will say that my empathetic body became more online because I became aware of myself, right? A lot of times we hide from who we are, right? Especially when it comes to what we're good at. Because then we have to challenge ourselves, right? So I think that what I learned about being able to honor my cleansing process and still being able to be there for the collective is how do I do this every single day of my life, right? And how do I remind myself or conduct myself to the point where I know to do this innately, right? And I'm gonna be honest, it just started with setting an alarm and waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and actually getting out the bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it not being like, oh, okay, I gotta go run or I gotta go hurry up and do something. What does my body want to do today? How is my body feeling today? How it's like when you really start to talk to yourself, not in the state of what people think, oh, that's crazy, you're not supposed to talk to yourself. It's like if you got hands, how does this pinky know what this pinky is doing? Through communication from you. You're the conductor. You communicate from this hand what to do with this hand. And you don't have to say it. Your body can hear the telepathic conversation that you have with yourself, right? So I think that waking up in the morning and actually just listening to your body is probably the first step, right? For me, that was my first step. And the ability of being able to separate the work from my personal life, right? And I think that what I learned is that I tried to like go away and do, oh, no, I can't help nobody. I got to do my healing. But what happens is people come find you.
Right.
They know who you are because you're anointed. So they know who you are. So I think that healers are always going to help healers. And empath will always come around for other empaths. It's opening up the door to be in a state of receptivity. So when it's my turn to vent or my turn to release myself, that I have somebody around to do the same for me. So I guess it's more of building a network system, staying in practicality with the ritual for myself and honoring myself every day. And it's like the healing happens naturally.
And that's really outstanding advice. And I also noticed, like, throughout the whole conversation, the importance of words. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not enough to just kind of think it, but actually saying it out loud and manifesting certain things definitely help. It may seem a little odd to verbally say it out loud, but sometimes it's just like you kind of need that to just put it out there so that the universe can hear it. Or sometimes you just have to hear it out loud outside of your head to even make it more real.
I think it's also too, sound is how existence started. Like when you really get into the metaphysics or the scientific aspects of how we were created into existence, sound is one of the most important things, right? So when you hear yourself say something to yourself, it's kind of like a command. It's like you're you're telling yourself to do something for yourself. It's like your body is going to respond to what you say to it. Now, a lot of us, we find it easy to say, I can't, I don't, I won't, because we've been programmed that way. So when you are trying to reprogram yourself into a healthier lifestyle, a healthier way of thinking, hence heal with the thought, right? Now your thoughts have to become healing, but you also have to say it to yourself because the body is used to what you haven't been saying. You understand what I'm saying? And words are very important because, I don't want to use the word spell, but you can cast or downplay yourself in a state of doubt. I actually just posted that today. The work is the work. And sometimes we try to cheat ourselves out of doing the work.
Right.
And honestly, your body knows what you've done and what you don't do. It knows it innately. So when you tell yourself that you're going to do something different, and when you say it in a repetitive way, and it's not the same tempo that the body has been stuck in for so long, it takes that, like I said, as a command, and it starts to rewrite what it used to do. So and I'll give an example. A lot of people don't like getting up early in the morning, right? However, the body operates on something called the circadian rhythm. So even if you don't like getting up early in the morning, some point of the time between, I would say, 3 and 7, your body is gonna wake up. Most of us might hit the snooze button and go back to sleep, but innately the body knows what to do. So right at that moment when you may get up in the midst, if you give your body a command to get up, you've probably noticed this before, right? If you don't say nothing to yourself when you first wake up, nothing happens. Okay, I'm gonna get up now. Okay. People do it all the time. Yeah. I'm gonna get up now. I'm getting up right now. And then what happens? You eventually get up out the bed because your body is responding to that command. It's actually called the subconscious, right? You have the conscious mind and you have the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is based off of faith and beliefs of what is going to happen. The conscious mind is based off of reason of what the action of what you actually have done, right? So if you fake it, you can fake it until you make it all you want when it comes to resetting the body and being in a state of receptivity or rooting yourself or coming back into your body after emotions or crashing out, right? If you fake that, the body is going to take that. And if you actually stop and start to actually do the work, you'll see how the body will respond to it. It'll feel better. The responses will be different. You'll lose weight. Like I lost 200 pounds.
Oh, well, congratulations.
And that aspect of learning how to speak to myself so that I respond to positivity has kind of changed my whole pathway.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to pay attention to who you have around you, because it's like if you're around negative people, if you're around negative environment, that's going to also affect you. So be selective of who's in your circle.
Yes, that is very important because when you get into the mechanics of the parasympathetic nervous system, if the body is used to being around negativity, it'll be comfortable there. So, the company you keep, sometimes you may think is okay because your emotional discomfort or suppression is allowing that, right? And our environments program us more than we do because we don't program ourselves. So when you say watch the company you keep, sometimes the company you keep can be influencing you and you're not even influencing yourself. And that's how you get things like with mass media, with entertainment, with rapping, how people start to take on that culture innately is because it's still programming, you know?
Right.
So you're 100% correct. You do have to watch the company you keep, the environments you in, and the spaces that you go to, you know? It ain't always good to go to the club or be, you know, on the block. Sometimes you need to go sit by the water and just honor yourself to be in a state of calmness and connectivity.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful sentiment to wrap this up on. Do you have any suggestions of like yoga pose real quick before we close out? While we're sitting, because this is in frame.
So while we're sitting, I would say the most important pose for me would be to place your feet on the ground, put your hands on your knees, posture straight up. I feel like this pose is, you know how in the Egyptian pantheon you see all of the statues sitting like this? It's because these are conductors. Your knees are honoring the state of mobility. And this yoga pose is like the stance of, I guess you can say, the staff pose, right? You usually would have your legs up though, and you would be like this. However, you move back forward between the two. And what that does is it honors both mobility and memory, right? Because the knees are connected to what people consider to be the spiritual realm. The next pose I would say you could always do is this one. This also implements balance and receptivity. That actually felt good for a second.
I felt it in my back. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, I like that for a second.
Yeah.
It's a little limited, you know, sitting down. You have the half lotus, which would be what we were doing the whole time. You can also do a forward bend at this pose, which would just be this. And yeah, that's probably about it.
All right. Well, I feel better already. I feel more relaxed. I had my back was aching a little bit today, but I felt like this kind of like helped stretched and move some things about.
That's this is beautiful because earlier you was like, since we came to speak right after election, a lot of people have been complaining about back pain. I had like at least 7 people hit me up in my DM over the last couple of days. So, you know, my back been hurting. Yeah, your back been hurting. And I've seen a couple people in person, and that's what they were saying too. And I also had it too, in reference to spasms. And it's crazy because this also is the root chakra and it's connected to safety, right? So just know that your brain is waiting for you to tell yourself that you're safe. The moment that you allow anything external to be the validation or the reassurance of your safety, the body is going to respond to that, right? So if I would say anything, the most important thing is remind yourself that you're always in a safe space. Honor that safety is created by you. And open up the possibilities of other people being able to promote that type of safety, because if you think it, then those people will be attracted to you.
That's a beautiful sentiment. And I think like right now is a very pivotal time in our country, but it does us no good if we worry ourselves sick. So take the time, watch this video again and again. Take the breathing exercises. Do the, what was it again?
Emotional freedom technology.
Emotional freedom technology. Implement that into your routine. All right, everything is going to be okay. Just take your breaths and glow from this conversation. I'll catch you guys next time.